Hello, thanks for attending the PUTS workshop. I want to welcome and thank these two students from the Higher Institute for Technology Studies and Communications of Tunis. We have Mohammed and then we have Abdu. What we're going to do is we're going to ask questions as it relates to the IT and computing sector here and as their studies in terms of what they're able to do in terms of jobs and kind of their outlook. So first, I want you to tell me about your IT or computing education experience here in Tunisia. And we'll start with you, Mohammed.
Okay, so as for me, I just passed my first year in the Higher Institute of Communication and Technology. And so far, for my experience, we learned kind of the basics of telecommunication, and we did study a little bit of database. We worked on databases, we built databases. We have a lot of practice works and all of that. We also do have a lot of internship opportunities, so that also helps. So in general, as my first year here in Izzetcom, it is very good to say the least. Most of the teachers are very helpful. They tend to answer. We can contact them with emails anytime, and they are super helpful. They don't just give you answers, just to answer you. No, they actually explain a lot. Like I said, most of them, and I'm genuinely happy with my experience in it so far. I did my internship. It also went really well. They helped me get it. So in general, we get like efficient lessons, things that teach you a lot, and other than those, we can also practice them in our practice work sessions. So in general, it's a very good experience for me.
And when it comes to me, I'm well, technically 2 years older than Muhammad. And basically, I just passed my second year while having already 1 year as an exchange student in Arizona Western College. So Muhammad and I went to the same school. I went through a slightly different program because there are changes and updates and upgrades to the system, which is rather fascinating. But as he said, we did have in the first year a lot of focus on the basics of telecommunications. We had a lot of math courses, a lot of programming courses, be it C language or Java language, as well as working on databases, algorithmics, and just an all in all balanced education for you to be pushed in the right direction. In addition, we have a lot of telecommunications when it comes to architecture, when it comes to treating signals, propagation, physics, hyperfrequencies, all that good stuff. And honestly, it's quite interesting because it offers you two different specialties in your fourth semester, and afterwards. So for my case, at least, I went for network security, where we did have a lot of obviously security classes where you would be focusing on protecting your network, on different threats. So you pass from the theoretical approach to more of a practical approach. You work on the architecture itself and the different threats, the intrusion detection systems, and with all its types, all the different possible ways to secure a network, your equipment, the hardware configuration, as well as the different networking devices where Cisco classes focuses on that. And all of these classes, all of these different approaches, heavily rely on the practice side of it. So we have a lot of workshops, we have a lot of labs, and well-equipped labs, and for the most part, some very professional and accommodating staff that are more than willing to help you, which is a very big bonus, because our school in particular focuses on, creating heavily specialized technicians. And as a technician, you need to be fully and 100% hands-on, and that is very practical for us.
There is
So,
actually one thing. I'm sorry. There is actually one thing I would like to add to everything he said,
okay.
and they actually encourage us to even do outside of college activities and to build ourselves even more. Take for example, last year they gave us access to free Coursera courses for like 3 months during the first COVID quarantine we had here. We had like access to so many Coursera courses, all for free. We could study as much as we want, and we can build ourselves as much as you want. So they always encourage us to work on projects. There's always project tournaments, and they legit encourage us a lot to work on ourselves and not just focus on what we study in class and that's it.
Absolutely. There's a point that I forgot to mention, and as he said, we had a lot of hackathons, we had a lot of capture the flag competitions, and a lot of innovation and development competitions, be it on a local level or on a national level. And in addition, Huawei has been working with our school and many other schools, as a matter of fact, where we have Huawei certifications. We start as an associates, and then if you get a high enough score, you can go for the professional and then the expert. We had classes in artificial intelligence where we work a lot with TensorFlow and Huawei's dedicated platform. In addition, there's IoT certification and a cloud computing certification where we mainly focus on Huawei's Fusion Compute. And all these are very great opportunities for us as young students in the IT field to, get a foothold and start looking for, the professional experience later on after graduation.
Okay, so Abdu, the follow-up question I have for you, you mentioned labs. So do you tell me the types of labs that you guys have?
Okay, absolutely. So almost every major field in a semester, we would have a dedicated lab. So we had labs about transmission, waves, hyperfrequencies, um, antennae, anything related to that sort. You had, qualitative and quantitative studies, energy-wise, equipment-wise. Then you would pass to, integrated circuits and, planning a embedded systems and the second year as well. You also had a lot of Cisco labs where you would practice on network architecture, different configurations, routing and switching, and then advanced routing and switching. Everything is done on packet tracer. We had a lot of development and programming labs, C, Java, Android development. And overall, it's very enriching, but it gives you a lot of opportunity to work by yourself independently to where you have simple projects, simple applications, and stuff that would allow you to grow individually and independently outside of school.
Okay, and so what are some of the things that you think would have allowed you more insight into the field?
Well, Mohammed mentioned a lot internships, and that's something we're definitely doing a lot of. So last summer, I had an internship where a buddy of mine had a startup. It's based in Delaware, and he started a website. So we handled everything from the creation, the maintenance, the cloud side of it on Amazon Web Services. I also had an internship in Arizona Western College where I had a lot of practical approach and a lot of learning, field for me to learn about anything and everything from installing simple hardware to, to Active Directory to customer support to hardware support and all the nice stuff. It's a big the opportunities for internship are the best way for you to grow in the IT field, and the school is pushing for it hard. With the board of direction helping us find internships as soon as we finish the study in June, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and we also have one internship during the year in just after the first semester's exams in February.
Okay, and you mentioned going to the college in Arizona. So was that a internship? Was it a study abroad? And how did you get the funding for that, or did the government of Tunisia pay for that? How was that whole thing orchestrated?
Well, it's basically a program, the Thomas Jefferson Scholarship Program, and it's hosted by and funded by the U.S. Department of State through an organization that works a lot in Africa. It's called IREX. So you basically apply in October. If you get as a semifinalist, you will, sit for the TOEFL exam and for a, personal interview with a board of, with a panel of two Americans and one Tunisian who is an alumnus, and then you would go on a fully funded scholarship in either a community college or a university, depending on this Tunisian school you came from. And the program mainly focuses on creating young leaders and people who would invest back in Tunisia and be proactive in the economical development of the country. And it's a very rich opportunity, obviously funded by the U.S. and every single professor that I had encouraged me to do it. And, I luckily had it. And, I just finished the program last year, and it's been an incredible experience.
Okay. The next item, Mohammed. So, are there any professional certifications that are stated as a requirement for jobs here in Tunisia?
Well, I wouldn't say they are requirements for jobs, but they are definitely a huge advantage you can have. Because most jobs, there are a lot of jobs that require only your degree you get from college, and internships, of course. But when you have professional certifications, that helps you get a better chance at getting a much, much, much better job and live a better life in general. So I wouldn't say they are a requirement, but they are definitely a huge heads up you can have in your career, and it will help you grow much, much bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you said, it is not really, a requirement for an example, you can actually get a job without a professional certificate. But yet again, if two people with the same, academic background apply for the same job, obviously the one with, professional certifications, not only that, but also, extra skills. We're talking soft
Yes.
skills, team leadership, team building, there's the whole nine yards. Actually, you cannot really be a fully dedicated professional, just knowing your field of study. You need to be as polyvalent as possible, and have a good reach, and good capabilities to work in situations that are not very familiar to you, and that's where these things come in handy.
Okay. How is the IT professional market here for new grads versus those that have experience?
Mohammed?
Okay. So, so as a new grad without experience, you'd obviously have less of a chance than another one that has experience and everything. But that doesn't mean there aren't job opportunities. There are a lot of job opportunities that require zero experience. But then again, your chance of getting more jobs and better ones require experience. So, but in my personal opinion, I think that if you have zero experience, but you have a lot of professional certifications, just like we were talking just now, a lot of professional certifications and a lot of internships and let's say a lot of skills, just like Abdu was just talking right now, social skills and management skills and leadership skills. Even if you do have zero experience in jobs and working in general, you would have a pretty good chance to get a pretty decent job. But with more experience, you've got more of a chance to get a job than you do with zero experience.
As he said, absolutely, it is pretty possible for you to get a job with zero experience. However, even internships are quite competitive, and in a market that's full of young engineers and with a thriving yet limited IT field, the competition is going to be fierce. So any
True.
experience whatsoever, be it internships, be it even undertaking personal projects or academic projects, are quite helpful in your resume, and it is definitely a bonus as well. Professional
Absolutely.
experience is very, very crucial for your salary as well. Obviously, you're a junior versus a senior developer will definitely have different paychecks, and experience would play a role in in the how do I say, in the late game kind of way. It's detrimental in that aspect, but finding a job, it is not as difficult as one
Yeah.
would expect without experience.
Now, with leading on after that, I've been following the news in France and the news in some North African countries, and it seems like there are a number of people that end up going to France for jobs and opportunities and stuff like that. So, is it commonplace for people to graduate and go to France for jobs?
I mean, honestly, absolutely, definitely, yes. But here's the deal, right? We have been a former French colony, and sometimes there's no escaping that sort of legacy, right? With the Tunisian political climate and, somehow the lack of political will to improve in a lot of fields. A lot of youngsters and young graduates, be it in our IT field or other fields, especially in medicine, and be it doctors or other paramedical staff, they would find it very enticing to immigrate to Europe, especially France and Germany, because it simply offers better prospects in life, better careers, better pace, better quality of life. And it's, slightly frustrating, but that is the market. And as Tunisians, especially in France, Tunisian engineers have a very, very good reputation because our education is well planned, where we can reach in a lot of fields at the same time, and it gives us a competitive edge. So the opportunity and the appeal of France in general is very high, and you can understand where a lot of youngsters would prefer to pursue a career outside the country than inside the country.
So yes, like I totally agree with everything he said, especially since French is our second language. So France is obviously gonna be maybe the number one target for students that wanna go out of the country, because everyone simply wants a better life and everyone wants the best for him and for his loved ones. So people would go chasing after opportunities wherever they come. And to be honest, I'm sad to say this, but it is the harsh truth. In our country, a lot of people think that we cannot have opportunities to be great men, not just good, great men. And I cannot disagree with them. I cannot argue with them about that, because when you look at the situation of the country right now, it's super bad and it's simply demoralizing. So it would be so natural for people to just want to emigrate and get out of here. However, then that there's two categories of people. There are those that are true patriots, you can say. They do immigrate, but it's just to build themselves, to ensure themselves and their loved ones, again, a better life. But then they come back here to try and make Tunisia a better place. And I have friends that actually do that. And there are those that just want to live a better life, and that's it. So about France, like I said, it's just because of the relationship between Tunisia and France, and the fact that it's our second language, and all the administrations here use French. We study using French. Everything's using French here. So that could be the number one target for most Tunisians. And yeah, and like Abdo said, because we were previously colonized by French, that also has a thing to do with this. So it would make perfect sense for why France would be the number one target for students to go there. But like I said, a lot of students do go out and immigrate to build themselves and ensure a very good life, but then they also want to build a better Tunisia. And quite frankly, that's what we all should be doing, because yes, Tunisia is in a very bad situation right now, no matter how you look at it. But that doesn't mean we cannot make it a better place by becoming great men ourselves.
Absolutely. I just want to, add to what Mohammed said. Well, while we are definitely more oriented towards immigrating, to Europe and France, it's slightly similar to the way I've seen it in the U.S. So I used to live in a border town called Yuma, Arizona, which is like 50 minutes away from Mexico. You would see a huge influx of, legal and, illegal immigrants towards the US coming from Mexico. And it's mainly, either parents going there to work in, whatever job is available to support their families and have, better pay and a better quality of life for their children. But also, youngsters going there to study and, get their associates or bachelors or masters or whatever, and, hopefully get a better opportunity and better future. And it's slightly the same dynamic, power dynamic happening between Tunisia and Europe. But people tend to forget about the African continent in general, with countries like
Yes.
Senegal, not Niger, I'm sorry, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, Cameroon, And these countries have emerging technologies, emerging fields of studies that are previously unavailable. Very
Absolutely.
fastly growing economies. And I had a lot of friends who actually went to med school in Senegal, and it's a very, very interesting country. People slightly have the look towards, South-Saharan African countries as poorly developed, which is definitely not the case, because as Tunisia has been growing, so have they been. And it's a great opportunity for us to invest and to migrate to those countries and, slightly try to keep the development and the local talents as localized as we can, within the African continent.
Okay, that was well stated. So, how do you think that Tunisia could benefit from IT startups?
Well, the country actually has a startup act,
Yeah.
albeit slightly, mismanaged, the least to say, but it is there, and there's a big push for IT companies, for startups in general, and especially IT companies. It's about time for the economy to shift from a, um, consumer-based society to a more productive society, because our main fields of investment and economic development were always focused on tourism, agriculture, simple consumer products. And it's about time for us to focus more on technology and shift everything towards technology. You would see emerging companies and emerging apps every so often, where they would focus on a simple and very much needed, field that a lot of people would appreciate having a digital format of. And there's every day there's growth, every day there's innovation, albeit not in the proper, rhythm, but it's happening, and it's definitely shown that there's, a rising tendency towards technology and IT. We're talking companies like Intigo and Bolt, for example, who took the issue of public transportation in Tunisia and made it their goal to provide a better platform and slightly better services than the public sector, and it's working quite well. You got companies rising like Tayara and Jumia, where they would try to be the Tunisian Amazon, and they're doing quite well at it. Tayara being the eBay, Jumia being the Amazon, and so far they're doing just great.
So yeah, I totally agree with everything he said. He pretty much said most of it, but there is one more thing that startups do have a huge effect on the country, and it's something it's struggling with actually, and it's the number of people that are unemployed. Startups may be small companies, but they play a significant role in the economic growth in general. They create more jobs, and which means more employment, and that would definitely improve the economy. Not only that, startups can also contribute to economic growth by spurring innovation and injecting the competition in general. So all in all, startups, if we actually focus on them big time and we give them all the support that they need, they would have a huge effect on the economic growth of Tunisia in general, and it could change the state of the country. It could
Enormously,
totally change it.
definitely.
Well, I would. You guys have been great, and I think one of the things that I would like the viewers to know that first of all, your first language is Arabic, your second language is French, and you hear these young guys speaking English, and it's perfect. So it's really impressive. So when you think about the African continent and countries that are here located on the continent, you have to think about the diversity of people and skill sets and stuff like that. So I just want to say, mes amis, merci beaucoup et shukran.
Absolutely. Shukran, Maurice. That is an awesome opportunity, and we're honored to be here. Mohammed has offered us a honestly great experience here today.
All right, so I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.